Hi everyone, today I am going to be doing a picture from this book, Die Welt Unter der Lupe by Rita Berman, and I thought that this picture looked rather sweet that we could do. I'm just grabbing a piece of paper in a pop behind the page. I always pop a little bit of paper behind. In early colouring books that I had, the ink would sometimes transfer into the page behind. I don't know whether that happens anymore, but colouring pencils certainly can. I haven't coloured the page behind, but it's always good to just be better safe than sorry, as we say. Okay, so this is a sort of water lily design, I think, and it really appealed to me. I thought it was really cute, and I thought I would just have a go. I've got my Castle Arts, and this is the 72 set, and I thought I would have a go with those because there's some really pretty pinks and purples, which is what I wanted to do with this page. I am going to start with the greens though. My favourite greens I think we're going to grab. So, will they work? Yeah, I think they will. I'm just trying to decide whether the colours will work. I'm going to actually start with the Veridian. Show you the colour. I don't know how well you can see. It's quite small, isn't it? I'm going to give it a sharpen because we've got quite a fine detail with these stems. And what I'm going to do is just do the ends of the stems here in a bit, and then just fade it down the stem a little bit, and we're going to go over that in another green colour in a minute, like that. So anywhere where the stem is touching a plant or near itself, like there would be a little bit of shadow, so we just put a bit of the darker green. If we've got a larger area like we have here, we can take it a bit further along. If it's a short area like here, we just do a little bit. But it's important to try and fade it a little bit along, and then that will make it easier to blend in with the next colour. Now this here, I'm thinking that looks to me like it's a lily pad rather than an actual flower. So I'm going to just leave that for a moment and then show you my plan of what I'm going to do with that. So I'm just carrying on doing exactly the same thing as I did on the other side for now. I've got a little in there, I'll just do that a little bit darker. So that's our Veridian. We're now going to go in with a different shade, which is the Oxide of Chrome. Not sure how well you can see it. So I'm going to go back along, hopefully you can see, go over the top of the Veridian. Can't see very well, let me try it this way, over the top of the Veridian, and then fade towards the centre of the stem, and the same here, and here, and here. So we're again just going to work through each one, doing the same thing. That should help. I just hold the corner of the book and it won't keep popping up and down, which I know can be a little bit irritating. We didn't do a bit of the dark one there, never mind. Look a little bit different. I've had fun having a look through this book. I haven't had time to do a lot from it yet, but it's got a lot of really pretty pictures in it. Since I got Rita Berman's latest book, Meine Reise durch Europa, it sort of opened my eyes to her work really, and I've been admiring her other books, and someone very kindly gifted this one to me. Sorry, I'm just colouring and not telling you what I'm doing. This is the Cadmium Green, and we're going to finish off all the stems. So on a shorter stem we'll just put a hard layer on, but this one is a little bit longer, so I'm going to try and fade it a little bit towards the middle so it looks a bit lighter in the centre, whereas this one I'm just going to put down a fairly hard layer to sort of blend together the greens that are there. You can go over the top of the green that's there already, and that helps it all to blend together. Castle Arts are quite nice at blending. If you're not using Castle Arts, that's absolutely fine, of course. Just use 3 shades of green, ones that are your favourite or that go together. I think really I categorise greens into 3 sort of sections. There are the really bluey greens, which are like this sort of emerald green, hooker's green, phthalo greens, that sort of thing. And then there are the sort of more olivey yellowy greens. So we've got earth green, may green, apple green, moss green, that sort of thing, olive green of course. And in your prismas you've got your lime green, that sort of thing. Oops. And then with the other set would be more of your sort of grass green and leaf green type colours, where they're sort of in between. They're not really yellowy, they're not really bluey. So if you can think about your pencils in those sorts of categories, it will help you to know what goes with what. Okay, I'm nearly at the end of these stalks, and what I'm going to do now is zoom in for the rest so you can see better. Now this, although it looks quite floral, because it's got, well, it's a little blurred, isn't it? Once I push it down it comes into focus. Because it's got this split here and the line around the edge, it makes me feel like it's a lily pad. So I'm going to use the same greens. So I'm going to go in first with my Veridian. I'm not sure how well you can see. And I think I want these areas to be darker. So I'm going to go around the edge of this area here, like that, and then gently scumble around lighter and lighter, so that hopefully the little bit on the edge is just slightly darker. We don't have a big amount of space to play with, so I'm not going to get too worried about it. I'm just going to do my best. Okay, and then this one. Now you could do this as a flower if that's what you think it is, or you could, it could be a flower on top of a lily pad, but I'm going to do it as a sort of lily pad design. I haven't seen any pictures of this page completed, although the book isn't particularly new. I just haven't been sort of following Rita Berman pictures on Instagram for long, so I haven't seen many. And I think for me, in a way, that helps because it means I do something original. But it also means that I've got no clue as to what other people are doing. So I might be doing it completely wrong. Although, is there a wrong way to colour? Probably not. Okay, so that's that bit done. Now that really, to me, has emphasised the fact that that looks quite floral. But I'm still going to go in with my other green. So back to the Oxide of Chrome. And what I'm going to do is, I want it to be darker in this centre part. So I'm going to put down quite a lot of layers in the middle, all the way around. Just see we've got quite a hard bit there. And then I'm going to just gently reduce those layers and blend it out. Oh, I don't know if blend is really the right word. Just take the colour out towards the end of the leaf part, but not all the way, like this. Just reducing that amount of pencil that we've got there, so it's more intense down towards that centre. Now I'm going to finish off with this colour. Oops. Now this is the Cadmium Green, and I'm going to go start from where I started to fade that colour and go over with quite a hard layer, and then try and reduce it towards the tip of this sort of leaf shape. It might be white paper showing through, I don't mind. Oh, there's a train going by. Very lucky where we live. We do live near a train track, but I can hear their horns. We're near a crossing, hear them sounding their horns to make sure that no one's on the line. But we can see them when the steam trains go by. It's great fun, quite close by to see it. We saw the Flying Scotsman in the summer. which was great fun. Lots of our neighbours went out, and we can't see it brilliantly well from the house, you can just hear them. So we took a sort of 3-minute walk and stood on the bridge and watched it go underneath us, which was fantastic fun. It had the Pullman's coaches and things on it too, so that's great. But we also live really near to a canal. Okay, I'm going to do the outer rim, and I'm just going to keep with this colour. So that's lovely. The canal is near. Well, in fact, the canal's nearer because the railway runs behind it parallel. So actually where our house is positioned, we have a river on one side and a canal on the other. So the canal has more wildlife than the river, but when you walk along the canal path, you have the river on one side of you and the canal on the other. So you're almost on a path island, which is quite fun. Okay, I'm done with that. I'm happy with how that's turned out. That's how I wanted it to be. And now I'm going to go in with some pinks and purples for our florals. What I think I want to do is to merge the pinks and purples together. So I'm looking in my box to try and find some shades that I think will work well if I try and blend them up. So I'm going to, for my purple, I'm going to use the lavender, and for my pink I'm going to use, it's called Purple Light. I'll show you the pencil. So we've got Purple Light and lavender, and you see they look like that. So this is Purple Light. It's actually, to me, that's very pink. Sorry, that went very blurred then. I'm going to start with the lavender. And on all of the plants, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll just keep it in shot for you. So I'm going to do it here. So I'm going to do, I want a hardish layer there, and then fade it up towards the end of this sort of bud. And you could, I don't know whether lily buds are actually green, but I think it's prettier if we do them in the pinks and purples. So these are quite easy. Just pop some colour down here. You don't have to worry about the lines if you don't want to. The buds are usually quite smooth. You can just, so Rita's lines are all we need to show us that there are folded petals within that bud. On this one though, I will do each petal separately. I find it helps me to work out what's what. And I want this bit darker as well as this bit. I'm getting thirsty. I had a cup of tea. I've been out. Now we'll do the other side. I had a cup of tea before I made this, but I feel like I could do with another one. But anyway, it's nearly lunchtime. So I'm recording this late morning. So I'll get on with my lunch in a moment. So this is exactly the same as the other side. It's nice and easy. So harder layer here, less as we go up. Now the better you graduate your colour on this layer, the less likely it is that you're going to need multiple layers. But with this picture, which isn't huge, it won't hurt if we have to do a few layers. I find it quite funny that this is a book about underwater, obviously, and I've chosen to do a floral design on top of the water. We're moving on to the Purple Light. It's because I'm more familiar with colouring botanicals. So this tip I'm going to do in the pink, then I'm going to fade that colour into the lavender, like that. And you can leave it quite rough. You have to have a really burnished colour. You can layer it up with the Castle Arts and get a burnished finish. I'm not sure that that's what I want. I'm quite liking this sort of quite rough and ready but nicely mixed up colour going on. I don't mind seeing a bit of the white paper through. Now while I'm doing this, we can talk about background. We've got a lot of white paper on this page, and there's a number of things that you can do. Got all these bubbles. Now what you could do is just colour the bubbles blue and then leave the rest of the page white. That's nice and easy. You could get some pastel colours, soft pastels, and do a blue or a sea coloured background, and then go over those bubbles with a white or maybe silver pen. You could do the colour over the bubbles in a blue metallic pen, quite nice, or you could use a glitter pen in the background, make it all shiny, but that's quite a lot of paper to cover with a pen, might run out. Okay, let's move along. I've got these. Now the bubbles actually continue across to the next page, but I'm not doing this as a double page spread. I'm treating them as two completely separate pictures. You see, I'm being quite quick and rough, and I quite like the effect that that is giving me. It's a nice light mix of colour. Like that. So there we are. There is our the sort of base done, and we just use 5 pencils for that. Now I'm going to go with the pastel approach on the background. I'm just going to stop the camera, move my pencils away, get my pastels out, and just do a little demo for you. So I'll be back in a moment. Right, I am back now. What I have done is popped a piece of paper over this facing page just to protect it from pastel dust. My pastels are these. They are the Amungio soft pastels, and you get lots of colours. I have reorganised my tray. I spilt them all over the floor, oops, and and had to put them back, so I've reorganised them. Now I'm going to go for a blue colour for my sea. I know seas can be green, they can be, you know, grey, they can be whatever, but I think it will work well with the sort of colours that we've used so far. And I am going to go for this colour here, okay? And I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get, this is just a makeup cotton pad, and I'm going to rub it on the pastel like that, and then apply that to the paper. I find that's the least messy way I have found to do it. See, I've zoomed out a little bit. I'm going to do this tricky edge here first. I'm going to go around here. Now this will obviously overlap and go on top of the plants and things, but maybe if they were underwater, there might be a bit of blue colour on top of them anyway. I'm just trying to go quite lightly, and then it won't discolour them too much anyway. And my idea is to try to fade that colour out. So I'm not going to colour the whole page, I'm just going to do this sort of central part. So I don't want to put it on too hard as we move away. So when you first apply the pastel to the sponge or the pad, it's at its strongest, so use that nearer to your item like here, and then go outwards once there's less on there, and it will fade out. You see, a bit more in there. And the same like in here, we do darker part than here. Now you do need to be really careful with handling paper that's had pastel on it. If I touch on here with a greasy finger, it leaves a really ugly looking fingerprint in the pastel. So if I'm doing a pastel whole page background, I hold my page, I'm holding it with my fingers, but I hold my page with another cotton pad. Obviously I can then reuse it later for actually using with pastel. Or you could use a piece of paper under your hand, something like that, which will just protect it from the fingerprint that might come on it. So now I'm going to work on just smoothing out these edges so they just fade out. And you can basically fiddle and faddle with it until you're happy. I want to make sure that I've got enough colour down so that when I colour in the bubbles it shows up. I'm actually going to use a metallic, I think. It'll just be fun. Now with pastel I tend to use a fixative on it. I think I'm going to leave it there. It's quite subtle. I'm quite happy with that. So you can spray with a fixative now and then you can put your hand on top of it. Let the fixative dry. Obviously my fixative takes ages to dry, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go in, actually look, I need to do that bit first, but I'm going to go straight in with my pen and get on with showing you the gold, silver I mean, sorry, I'm going to do them silver. So I'm going to lean on a piece of paper, and I'm actually going to lean on this piece of paper because it's here. I'm going to use a silver Posca pen. This is my silver Posca. It's a PC1MR. I'll pop it in the description so you can figure out which one it is, and it's a 0.7mm pin type. Just going to give it a shake and a little test. There we go. And what I'm going to do is leave my hand on this paper as I colour in each of these dots. I'm going to leave the black outline because I think that will help it to stand out, because if it catches the light in a certain way it might look like it's white otherwise, and there's nothing there. If you've done your pastel a bit darker you might be happy to go over those black lines. It's completely up to you. So there's our first little section. I don't know how well it shows up at the minute with my light as it is and it being so zoomed out, but I'll show you afterwards. So I find that once you get into the flow of doing this it's quite fun. I do get a bit scared using pens because they're permanent, but I figure it's okay. Now I haven't tested this pen to make sure it doesn't go through the paper, but I do trust Posca pens, they normally don't, but it's always wise to test it in a little bit of the book, that doesn't matter if it goes through, to make sure it's not going to make a mess up of your book. And you know, metallic pens will vary, so depending on what you've got will depend on whether it's you can trust it or not. But these Poscas are well known for, they just sit on the surface of the paper, they don't go through, which is nice. Never though shake it with the lid off, especially over your colouring book. Remember, it's paint, it's runny. It's not like it's a marker pen where the ink is held within a sort of felt casing. This is loose paint inside a pen. If you shake it without the lid on, you could end up splattering it all over the place. I've done it. Probably a lot of people have, and luckily went all over my keyboard because I happened to have my keyboard near me when I was doing it, and not over my colouring. You can imagine how devastating it might be if you did that. So we're nearly there. These little bits really near the centre are a bit scary because the ink might get on the next page. But I am going to finish there, and I'm just going to show you how it looks, hopefully. If you might be able to see the shine. Yes, you can. There you go. So there it is, all shiny. So I hope that's been fun. I thought I'd just do a simple one from the book to start with. If you wanted it to be brighter and more colourful, you could do another 2 or 3 layers of the pencil. But I just wanted it to stay quite light and quite fun. So there we go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. And happy colouring.